Hello and welcome to another video here on Team Tien Beale. I am your gracious host, Revs here, and we're going to be doing something slightly different today. I know you're very much used to seeing all of our wacky and wonderful locals games we've been putting up on the channel recently. They've been getting tons of likes, comments, views, etc. And I honestly want to thank all of you for stopping by and checking them out. It's really helping the channel progress. They're nice, they're interesting, different ways to kind of get into the game and see what kinds of weird and wonderful shit we're playing down at locals. So I really must thank you all for all the support you provided so far to the channel. And it kind of gave me an idea. And the idea is to bottle up that weird and wacky, wonderful shit we've been playing at locals and really give you an insight into a couple of these different strategies and how you can kind of start to utilize them. Maybe even a bit competitively in these upcoming Zenkai Cup tournaments. Every region has got them. They recently lifted the restrictions on it, so originally you could only use like Zenkai series leaders or like a certain select amount of cards. It all had to be Zenkai stamp cards. Recently Bandai just came along and went, you know what, fuck that shit, just play whatever you want. And here we are, and that opens the door for you to play all kinds of bizarre stuff in these tournaments. And one of the most wonderful things about this card game is that literally everything works. Like, you can build any random deck you want, you can pick your favorite character and you can really go with it and you can really roll with it, and you can pick up results. And I want to pick out a couple of strategies that I think for each color are going to be a really interesting pick for these tournaments. Obviously, if you've got your own suggestions, please do leave them in the comments below. I'm going to do one video per colour. I'm going to pick a deck from each colour. So I know that a lot of people enjoy their own particular colours in the game, and that's often like a through line into what strategy you want to pick and what rogue deck you decide to go with. So I'm going to pick out one deck per colour. I'm going to do those in separate videos, so stay tuned for a couple more of those coming up, and just let me know what your ideas are for this as well. I am going to be starting with my favourite colour and Bandai's least favourite colour, green. I think green gets a lot of hate throughout the years, especially in the Cell Surge years, and I think that's kind of led to Bandai kind of going on their own little tangent with it and just deciding to give green all the kind of hilarious mimic ideas, which makes it great for rogue deck building. And you'll see what I've got on the screen here is a personal favourite of mine, my absolute favourite. If I can't have Cell Surge, I'm going to get the Cell Surge we've got at home, and that deck is Raditz Brotherly Revival. I've played it a few times, absolutely love this deck. I had a really great placing with it in the Birmingham Regional last year. You can check out our good friend Scrub Games to have my analysis of that deck that I piloted back in that regional, if you want an in-depth of it way back when and kind of the core fundamentals of it. But what I'm going to be doing is kind of showing you a very updated list, with some more of these powerful Zenkai cards in it that really pushes the strategy a bit more forward. It becomes a real cool green good stuff discard deck. I'm going to be highlighting the main way the deck works, kind of key strategies, the strengths of the deck and the weaknesses of the deck as well. The one thing I will quickly go over before I jump into this as well is kind of what constitutes a rogue strategy, and how best to pick it. In my opinion, I think it's one of those things where it's really easy to pick up any deck you want, but having an analysis of the meta and what you think people are going to play and understanding your deck's niche and how you can fit it in is what really makes this effective. You see people turn with all kinds of stuff to all these different events, and sometimes something really catches people out. And it's not by happen chance, it's not by accident, it's because that player has really understood how that deck fits into the meta, how it counters the meta, or how it gives it that one little step up that, with a bit of luck and a bit of surprise as well, you can really take some of these best decks off guard. So I'm going to try and kind of make sure you understand my thoughts on that as we go through these decks as well, for each one of these series, so you understand why I think it kind of links in with the meta and why it works in a way. So you'll see on the screen here, we've got Raditz and we've got Raditz Brotherly Revival. For people who don't know what it does, I'm going to do a very brief overview of the cards we go through as well for some of the newer players. Effectively, our Raditz leader here is dead straightforward. When you attack with this leader, your opponent has to warp a card from their hand. You don't draw a card. So it kind of sounds like it sucks, right? But you'll see why this works so well with what the rest of the deck is offering. And also on an activate main, you get to check the top 5 cards of your deck. You get to add any Vegeta, Nappa, or Raditz that you find there, add it to your hand, and then discard a card from your hand. It's all really important, that effect there. You then can awaken your leader when you have a 3-cost Unison in play, or you're on 4 or less life. You untap 1, you draw 1, and then on the flip side, you are then still removing a card from your opponent's hand every time you swing, and then Also, on an auto at the beginning of your main phase, so after you've charged, you are going to be able to shuffle 4 non-black cards from your opponent's warp into their deck, and then your leader will gain triple attack as well. And if you have 4 or more warped cards in your opponent's warp, again non-black, then the leader gains critical as well, which is really important for denying those cards, because all we're going to be doing is hand control, hand control, hand control. We're going to slowly be taking cards off our opponent and eventually just kill them as well. And there's a few cards that facilitate that, and there's a few cards in here, especially with the new Zenkai support, that make that kill turn all the more powerful, all the more obnoxious. We're playing hand control after all. So, all that in mind, our first cards of the deck are 4 of the Vegeta the Lone Prince and 3 Raditz Ruthless Adversary. These are the only targets we play for that top 5 search effect. We're on a tight 51 card, so you're going to probably find them quite a lot of the time, but we're also not in a position where we absolutely have to find these cards. There are more targets there, so we can actually have that discard effect. Vegeta the Lone Prince is a super combo where you can just play it for 1, and your opponent has to discard a card, and it also is a standard draw 1, 0 plus 10k super combo when you're at 4 or less. So it has an added effect where you can kind of chip away at your opponent's hand by playing it, and you still also get the defensive power of a super combo. Searchable super combos in this format is massive, especially when you have the 8-drop Gogeta running around as well from the SS4 deck. Getting hit by that when you don't have any super combos in hand basically means you have to neg 5 out your hand to get out of the attack, or you just take a triple strike straight to the dome, and we don't want to do that. So having super combos you can keep on adding to your hand early, ready for that swing when you're at 4 or less as well, is really crucial, as well as the discard effect there as well. Raditz Ruthless Adversary is not a card a lot of people are going to be aware of, but in this deck it's particularly good. When your lead card is a Raditz card, when you play this card again for 1 green, you can either take a life and KO a 1 cost or lower, a 1k, or you can draw a card for every 2 non-black cards in your opponent's warp. Against black decks, again, you're going to struggle with this, and this is what I mean about kind of being very selective about when you play the deck, and understanding the meta, understanding that you don't see an awful lot of black decks around, so some of those efficiencies are kind of there for you. But especially if your opponent's overwhelmed, even if your opponent hasn't overwhelmed and you get to sort of turn 5, turn 6, you're going to be drawing 2 or 3 cards depending whether you went first or second, or your opponent overwhelms to play a very obvious stuff like you've got the Dark Broly from the latest from set 18, which just warps a battle card. Loads of decks play 1 or 2 copies of that a lot of the time, just as an extra overwhelm option. At which point, sometimes this card can come down and just draw you 6 or 7 cards. There's no restriction on how many you draw. So when you're not drawing anything because you're attacking and warping, this card more than makes up for it as well, and it's searched from the deck as well. So, we've searched these guys out. What do we want to be discarding? Well, if you're a Cell Surge player from back in the day, you'll probably already know what we're going to be discarding. It's 4 copies of Great Ape Son Goku Saiyan Instincts and 4 copies of Ribrianne Punishing Passion. Simply put, pay 2 with both of these guys. You either discard 2 from your opponent's hand or draw 2 yourself. More aggressive matchups, seeing more cards in your hand is going to be really crucial to start comboing out with some more aggressive swings, and also restocking that hand that you're not getting to draw off your leader every turn because you're denying your opponent resourcing. Or you want to play into a lot more of these blue matchups. You've got Ribrianne Punishing Passion there to take 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, and that again just feeds into the overall strategy of what we're trying to accomplish here. You want to whittle down your opponent's hand slowly, gradually, and then eventually 1 turn you're just going to kill them. And Ribrianne is as obnoxious as it always has been, discarding 2 straight away, especially when you start to dwindle that hand and you can just keep on just ripping cards and just keep on going, how many cards in hand, how many cards in hand. People, don't worry, will eventually start to hate you, as they have done me. Going forward as well, you have also got 4 Demigo Unison of Sorcery, and also King Vegeta's Invasions Command as well is your Unison package, and obviously you've also got Charismatic Villain here as well to go with those. So Demigo's a really interesting one at the moment. Black Smoke Dragon is a card, and it's a painful card at that. Basically, Black Smoke Dragon will send this to the drop every time, but in my mind, being able to only pay 1 for your Unison, if they have to tap 2 to send it away, the Demigo's kind of done its job. The idea is that you're paying your 1 energy for Demigo, and that makes your freeze alive, so you can play against a lot more, the more aggressive decks in the first couple of turns, basically. And if they can't, if they immediately try and answer the Demigo, you can easily hold a second one, and the Black Smoke will send it away. But if they've had to pay 2 energy to just clear your 1 energy worth of play, you're actually pretty even. Black Smoke really hurts when they send away your 2-cost Unisons, because you basically traded energy and you've lost a really powerful piece of your strategy. Whereas Demigo is there to slow down some aggro decks, and realistically, They pay 2 energy to get rid of this. I'm laughing. I don't mind, because it's just another turn where they've not been able to use their energy aggressively to get at you. The permanent being able to just constantly take life rather than remove markers as well means they can't just redirect attacks into it, stall you out, limit the cards you see. And also that -3 on there is really handy as well, where you get to choose one of your opponent's battle cards, KO it, and then you also get to choose up to one of their 3 cost or lowers, ignoring barrier and KO it. Barrier removal is massive, massively crucial here. And that kind of leads us quite nicely onto this King Vegeta Unison. I don't see enough people play it. It's your 3 cost Unison, which is going to help you awaken. It's got a bunch of stuff about spirit boosting to counter-attack it into play, which is semi-useful if you want to replace a Demigra with a Freezer, so you still have like a Unison with more than 2 markers on. And a permanent to do with Great Apes, but honestly, if you're playing any of those like set 15 Saiyan Showdown decks, I don't know what to tell you. It sucks. Your +1 here, so talking about barrier removal, is you get to choose up to 1 card in your opponent's hand or one of their battle cards ignoring barrier and place it in the owner's drop. You get around KO effects because you're placing in the drop as well. You get around barrier, and also that is a random discard as well. Anyone who has attacked into a Cell's Earth Destroy Kamehameha knows how obnoxious having a random card taken out of your hand is. You've got your SCR in hand, you get Kamehameha, you lose it. King Vegeta, exactly the same. I'm gonna snipe a random card. If it's your SCR, sucks, mate. Go again. The most interesting thing though about this Unison, especially in these current format, is like this -X ability. You don't see a lot of -X's on Unisons, but for each marker you remove using that skill, you get to choose it to one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. That allows you to play around really interesting things like the Son Gohan rares. Like the green one in particular will remove 3 markers from this and just kill the Unison next turn if you're playing, God forbid, against another green deck in this economy. It allows you to just get around that because you can play this for 3 and then you can just immediately go, like, I'm going to wipe your board with this and send it away after awakening because I now have I have 3 cost Unison, awaken, -3 off it, and they're sat there with this Gohan rare in hand going, I was about to kill that. No, I'm wiping your board. So I think it's a massively overlooked Unison. There's a couple of other Unison options that you can go with if you want to. I'm going to discuss a couple of those later so you can make your own like slight variations. I know people are hot on this Nappa Unison, but this Unison offers you so much more power. It is only 19k, and I know the Nappa warps a card from your opponent's hand and allows you to turn on your leader effects a bit more, but the amount that this offers you, the amount of barrier in the format, the random discard, the field wipe, it's a really powerful Unison in this format. It is really good, trust me. Moving on to the kill switch of the deck, and this is a massive increase in Green's power level going into like the Zenkai format, basically. Green didn't get a lot of good Z battle cards. You know, you've got no rush attack, you've got no Beerus, but what you've got is the Fated Rival combo here. And as a pure discard strategy, having access to this Piccolo Jr. Fated Rival here is absolutely phenomenal. Now, a lot of decks will just play the Son Goku Fated Rival, where you pay 2 green, auto KO any card ignoring barrier, so you've got plenty of barrier removal already amongst these cards, and it's a barrier double strike itself. And then a lot of people skip on the Piccolo Jr. But you know, we're automatically, our strategy is about removing cards from opponent's hand. So for 1 green, I get to play this Piccolo alongside it, and I'm going to be swinging twice. And every swing on the auto, you discard a card. It's dual attack, so they're going to be losing 2 cards every time it swings. We can play this as soon as our opponent's got 3 or more energy, so we can really start to put pressure on them. These 2 cards help you close out games as any green deck, and particularly this Piccolo Jr. starts really feeding into our strategy. You can start swinging this at battle cards, you can swing it at Unisons, deny them the cards from their life, and just make them lose hand over and over again. With that, I mentioned it earlier, this Son Gohan rare, Latent Power Unleashed, is an absolute home run for green. It's a phenomenal card, and particularly in this deck as well. So the effect that everyone knows it for is the 1 green, when you place it in your Z energy, you minus a Unison by 3 markers. So pretty much anything 2 cost or lower, people aren't playing it because Black Smoke Dragon's a thing, so they gravitate towards the 3 and 4 cost Unisons. You pay one of those for 3 and uptick it by 1, and I play this and minus it by, you know, I swing it with the leader, combo this, tap a green, minus 3 markers off it, the attack swings into it, makes it lose the last marker, it's dead. It is phenomenal for that, and rightly so. A lot of green decks, a lot of like rogue strategies like Gotenks and Cell are all kind of picking them up and using it. But where this card really shines in this deck is that 25k critical. When you're at 4 or less, you can play the card from your hand, KO any one of your opponent's battle cards, so again we're denying them resources off the field, and then it's also going to not be able to be KO'd by your opponent's card effects. until the end of your opponent's next turn. So it's got a really good staying power. It forces them to have to swing into it next turn as well if they don't want it to stick around and swing for 25k crit again. It's so powerful for just playing it to the board. A lot of decks won't play this to the board. They'll always hang on to it for the Unison hate, but just playing this down to the board, KOing anything, because it's any battle card, you're going to get KO'd like token negates and stuff like that, and swing 25k to the face crit, add a super combo to it, just keep it at 25. It's a magic number anyway, so just swinging that anyway. Either they take the crit and you deny one card from their life, or they combo at least 2 cards out of it, like a super combo and a 5k, and they still lose cards from their hand basically to do that. So overall, the card is just fantastic for this like late game pressure where you start piling up crit swings, piling up swings that make them discard cards like this Piccolo. Your leader swing starts gaining crit when you've warped 4 or more cards. All of a sudden there's so much crit and discard pressure that you're slowly going to chunk down your opponent's hand. Another card that really adds into that strategy there as well is this Kaioken Son Goku the Furious. It's a new like TP from the latest tournament pack run. When it's played, your opponent just discards a card out of their hand. It's got critical inherently. You play it for 1 green, limit 1, providing you've got 3 or more green, mono green energy, which you do. You get to just play it. And then also as an activate battle time, and you can pay another green and gain 10k in your turn, and then lose 10k in your opponent's turn, which is fantastic when you want to just utilize a bit of extra energy. And again, it turns into another one of these 25k crit swings. It's already discarded a card as well when it's played. It is just insane value again, and it adds to this more, this like you see this core on here, this like crit pressure, discard pressure, that's eventually going to rack up for your opponent, especially when these fated rivals start coming down and end the game for them. We also play this Overwhelmed Toa as well. It is pretty much been a staple of a lot of like hand destruction strategies as well. When it's played, your leader card is green or yellow. Your opponent has to discard a card. It's a free play. Overwhelm 3, getting 3 in the drop with this is dead simple. And then giving your leader 5k as well. So if you've given your leader triple attack for the turn because you've sent 4 cards back to the bottom of the deck, play this, give it 5k. All of a sudden they're facing down a fated rival combo, 3 lots of 20k, a 25k crit. You see how it starts racking up on them while you've got this Unison package and the negates that will be going over to help you survive as well. Now, we've already explained a couple of ways how we can kill them. This is another ridiculous way of being able to kill someone with this. I have no idea what Bandai were thinking. A 1 green quad strike 40k. We used to play the Wicked Saints because it was a searchable SCR, and this is quite frankly is just better. I don't care that I can't search it. I don't care that I don't get the discard too. If I use Gohan, Kaioken, Piccolo, Goku here, and I'm just chipping away at your hand, I don't even need to get you past 4 life as well. You could, a lot of decks awaken and go to 6, and I hit you with a Gohan, and I hit you with a Goku. You don't get to see those 2 life and go down to 4. And then you sat there with 1 or 2 cards in hand, and you put down this turbo dishonest SCR for 1 green after just spending all turn ragging their hand and just swing for 40k quad. And the amount of times it looks like you're about to lose and your opponent's like on low cards in hand, and you just play this down into their 1 card, 0 card in hand, and just go and just nick the game from under them. Every green deck should be playing this SCR unless you're something particularly groovy. It is insane. The auto as well, where if it gets removed from the board, you wipe their entire board, ignoring barrier, and crit them a life as well, is just insane. Because it also gives you a way of just clearing up boards as well if they try and clear it. So a lot of the time you don't even have to just kill them with it, you just play it to the board, swing, they're going to waste more cards trying to get out of it, negate it, whatever, and then next turn they have to kill it basically before it just swings in again, so they lose their board to do it, and then you just go in again. It is so strong. Now, we've discussed loads of crit, hand control, loads of different ways of winning the game, but how are we not getting killed as a green deck by red is one of the biggest conundrums for the deck, right? So we have got the How Not to Lose to Red package. Margin Boot Unadulterated Malice is the first card here. It's a 3 of. It's your topo. It's your like pay 2, discard 1 card. Any card as well. It doesn't need to be a particular colour. So I'm looking at these 2 here that I can discard. And your opponent has to discard 2 every time they want to attack. Normally, a lot of decks, even if they're not being hand controlled, don't want to lose the card advantage to go through it. But some cases, you play that for 2, your opponent doesn't even have enough cards in hand to keep on swinging with their board and has to end, just for you to next turn drop a Cell Max and kill them. Vegeta Resolve Renewed being taken away from all red decks and only being given to Vegito helps us here massively as well, because there's a lot less interaction with the card. Broly Crown is still a thing, very much so. But you don't mind losing the card from hand when they play Broly, as much as you did when you just get immediately resolve renewed on the attack. You waste the energy in their turn. At least then you've still got options to play defensively with what we've got here. Dormant potential in a green deck. We only play the 3. The card is less impactful as it used to be. It is a hard kind of neg to stay alive. Against a lot of decks now, that's kind of better, but Sin Shenron is one of those decks in particular that really doesn't care for the card, because they know what they're doing. They swing with the 8-drop first and just kill you. They just like combo up to like 60, 70k and just absolutely like wash you out. And you sat there going, well, at least you can't attack again this turn, like after you've had to just take a triple strike to the face, and the next swing is coming at you for like double, like 40k, 50k. So otherwise, like, the card's still pretty decent. It still acts as removal for rush attack as well against red, so it still helps us in that regard. 3 homicidal clones, it's a block and negate, you always play it. Cells Earth Destroy him, we touched on it earlier. It's a way of randomly discarding. It's a sweet 15k straight out of a lot of like the big 20, especially like a first, second turn 20k. I'm looking at Unison Shenron, I'm looking at 4-drop. I can get out of it. So a lot of these like defensive measures here are designed around the worst matchups for the deck, which is red. But you play a lot of blue, you play a lot of yellow, you play a lot of other green decks. Like, you're going to have a really good matchup going into those, particularly with how much pushing blue is getting at the moment, how much stronger that colour is getting. Having all the barrier outs to the Beerus, for instance, over here and over here, and being able to discard so much of their hand while they're trying to play a slower game, just kind of almost ends up making you like an auto win against a lot of those matchups, which is what I was saying at the beginning of the video, when we're talking about just understanding the meta and playing an appropriate rogue strategy to play into it. And that's a lot of the reason why I feel like something like this is really cool going into it. Right, so that is the main deck there. I'm also going to go into the Z deck as well, and I've also got a few options down here that you can consider for side decking, or just if you want to change up the deck to your own preference as well, because this build, works for me. I really love it, but if you're, you might have a couple of different card choices. Everyone is different, so I will talk for a couple of other ways you can build the deck as well. Z deck, so Freezer Resurrected Ambition. This is once again another way of discarding cards from your opponent's hand. Late game, when you've stacked up loads of Z energy, and you start running low on cards, you can just start playing 2 or 3 of these out of your Z deck. You can start carrying more stuff off the board, so again, there's loads of destruction off the board if they try and play their cards there. There's loads of hand control if they try and keep them in there. Place one of your Z energy in the drop when one of your other green battle cards with a cost of 2 or more attacks, your opponent discards 1 card from their hand. Jiren the Immovable is a new Z battle card as well from the latest set, BT19. It's a really interesting card. When the card is played, you choose up to one of your green battle cards at a cost of 5 or less. It can't be removed from battle areas by your opponent's skills until the end of the next turn. Remember that choose up to one thing there. Do not get sharked, guys. Just remember to declare your reflect, so that you this guy doesn't leave the board, or any other 5-drops or anything like that don't leave the board. Please, for the love of God, people will snipe you with it. Just declare it, please. On an activate main as well, you place any number of your Z energy into the drop, choose one of your opponent's unisons, remove a marker for it for each Z energy, and if you did 2 or more, you gain 10k in double strike. Becomes an awesome way later on to clear unisons, make a massive 25k double striker, finish off the game, especially when, again, they've got 1 or 2 cards in hand, nothing they can do. This Goku here, ignore everything under that first auto, because we are not a Green Sun Goku leader. All you're looking for is the fact that it's a 1 energy, 2 Z energy to play it, 15k that can't be removed from your battle area by skills. Helps close out games. You wouldn't believe the amount of times where just having that 1 green energy is going to save you being able to actually go into a Z battle card and just swing that last 15k, especially when you're destroying your opponent's hand. And a mandatory Vegeta surmounting the impossible. We love to awaken. You can get stored on 5 life. If you don't have the Unison, then you're not going to be able to awaken. So being able to go either 5 to 4 or 6 to 5, homicidal clones 5 to 4, and go from there is crucial. So we always play the 1 of that guy. Side deck, so obviously there's a bit more than 15 cards in here. This is just going to be a couple of different options you can explore if you want to build the deck a little bit differently, and also a couple of side deck options as well for you. So I thought I'd just include some of the main heavy hitters in here. Start with Black Smoke. You can main deck Black Smoke. I do really like it. I feel like we already have enough barrier removal, though. It does really help you with that Unison removal. And this draw 2 effect is great for the decks. It kind of acts like a Saiyan Instincts for you. But the stipulation would have to be a total of 7 or more cards in all drops. Like, don't get me wrong, you see this later in the game, it's great. But that turn 2 is really when you want to be playing it. And by that point, it's very rare you've got that amount in the drop. So a lot of the time you end up just going on to its draw effect. So in the main, it's a little bit lackluster with the amount of people who now play around the card, and we already have sufficient barrier removal. But definitely side decking with decks that rely on 2 cost or lower unisons. is fantastic. It's a great card. It's an expensive card for a reason. This is Zamasu. It is a mainstay in a lot of hand control strategies. As you say, you can send a battle card with 5k power or more and a total energy cost of 5 to play it, and when it attacks, your opponent discards the card indestructible. When it comes off, the card is fantastic, but for me, it's more of like against the blue deck, I like it, but against everything else, it's a little bit like red will just minus this by 20k off the board when you try and play it, and then you've also kind of got to get the stars to align a little bit as well. Like you've got to hope that one of your freezers survives, or this Kaioken. You've got this Kaioken and the Zamasu in hand when you go for it in the same turn, and it's a little bit. It's a little bit like inconsistent, and it's not very like a lot of the time the card just gets drawn at the wrong opportunity and you have to charge it. So that's why I've kind of left it out of the build at the moment. But loads of people love playing this card, and for good reason. It is a really strong card, so it's another option you've got. Unison packages as well. So I obviously have spoken so much about this King Vegeta Invasions command over here and how much I enjoy the card. But you do have other options. This Dark Broly, you can play this with like the Deborah package, the balls if you want to, but you're honestly not drawing a lot of cards as it is, and then having to just hard discard a card to make your opponent discard limits your hand a bit more. Now the bonus of this as well is you've still got marker removal from Unisons. The +2 is still phenomenally broken, like as it was back in the day. It's a double strike Unison. It's 20k. You uptick and you don't just immediately get negged off the board by a Gohan against green. I can see its benefits, but I don't like losing the card. The other card, however, here is kind of works in the opposite way. This is something that I played back in my build last year. This Metacaller was a fantastic way of closing out games, netting you more advantage because you just discarded 1, draw 2. But at 15k, especially with the amount of Unison removal in the game now and minusing effects on Unisons, it becomes a really difficult card to keep on the board long enough to even pull off this -4 to actually start winning the game with it. So I did kind of err away from it a little bit as a card. But again, I can definitely see its merits. I can see it getting pulled off in the right scenarios. And then also, I didn't put it in here, but like the Nappa Unison, I've already spoken about it, and I'm not a big fan, but a lot of people are, so you do you. I've also included a number of different Vegeta and Nappa targets down here that you can play. Like, this is a great side deck, because not only is it good against blue and it turns off their Dimension Magic, you also search off the top 5, because it's a Vegeta card. Same with this card, if they're playing discard heavy strategies. Funnily enough, you do actually hilariously lose to hand control when you're playing a hand control deck because of how small your hand is. So having something in the side deck to really like nullify that is kind of crucial, especially this card when you search it as well. This card is straight up just a worse version of the Gohan rare now. It was a one-of in my old build because blue was everywhere and we didn't have that Gohan rare now. But you know, if you want to play like a big sort of like 30k triple striker that removes 3 markers, you can do. This Vegeta's kind of edgy. At the end of the battle, when it's used for a combo, you play it from your hand, and then when it KOs an opponent's battle card, they discard 1 and it's dual attack. So it is kind of okay. Like, you have to pay 2 to play it. Like, I could see like a world where you play that. This Vegeta, you can swing for double strike, or you can swing at battle cards that don't have barrier as well, even if they're in active mode. So it kind of has like a bit of a niche application sometimes, where you want to remove a couple of active things from the board. This Nappa's kind of interesting as well, where it's like a 1-cost blocker, and when your opponent uses a skill to play a battle card with energy cost greater than their current one, then they either discard a card or place one of their battle cards in the drop. It can create some awkward scenarios, but so many things just kill this on the board. It doesn't, like, I'm not sure it really survives, to be honest. Shocking Death Ball is something I would definitely see somewhere between the main and the sideboard. Again, I would definitely be selling this card against red. The more negates the better, especially Gogeta, because you can discard a lot of cards, but my god, is that deck going to draw more. So negating that leader swing whenever you possibly can, killing rush attack whenever you can, is something to help tilt that matchup more in your favour, playing this deck. It's not unwinnable, it's just really, really tough. This Golden Freeze as well is also a really strong consideration. I've seen lists of this deck playing it. It allows a board wipe on the counter attack, and it also allows you another win condition. My main issue with the card is more that a single blocker negate that every single deck plays kind of just means that you don't die to it that turn. You've got a couple of ways, like there's a couple of ways of just KOing any battle card. Like if you set it up correctly, then yeah, you can do it, and you know, you can play around, you play at the right time. But if your opponent's smart, they'll hang on to it, they'll see this coming, and they'll just block and negate the first attack, and then the blocker will stop you from swinging with the other triple strike, and it sucks for you. So that's why I don't play it at the moment, but I can definitely see an argument for playing it, because it is a strong card. It's just really predictable. You've also got Focus Breakthrough here as well. You Focus Breakthrough or like the Dodoria as well. I guess this is kind of both at the moment. it kind of helps you get rid of like a couple of their like negates and stuff like that. Stuff that they're trying to like riposts. If you're worried about riposts, if you're worried about topos and stuff like that, then yeah, the card's good. It's got some niche applications in a certain of the matchups as well, but you know, it's a decent enough card. It's probably like a side deck to think of as well there. And you've got a couple of other SCR options. I mentioned this card. This is probably like the next best SCR if you don't have Cell Max. Because this is searchable. It is a Raditz card, so you can add it off the top 5. It's double attack blocker when your opponent has 2 or more energy, and they either choose 4 cards and put them into rest mode, or you play them and they discard 2. You're always going to do that second effect because like normally you try and find this turn 2, turn 3 where they can't rest 4 cards to stop it coming in. I discard 2 again, attached to a 40k body that you search out for 0 plus 10k as well. It's really good. It's why we were playing it before, but Cell Max just kind of hits a little different. And then you've also got this card, the Invader's Vow. Your opponent has 3 or more energy. You can basically kill a battle card, and then your opponent discards 2. It's decent enough. Again, if you're struggling to get hold of some of the other stuff on here, like the Wicked Saiyans or Cell Max, it's another really great option. But for the discard 2, but realistically, Wicked Saiyans is better. Cell Max is the best. Please get a Cell Max. If you want to play green, play Cell Max. It's broken. It's too good. That is kind of a bit of a breakdown there of a few of your options, your Z deck, and the deck in general as well. So your general play pattern with the deck is a lot of the time you're going to be searching for your Demagogue Unison depending on matchups. Definitely you're playing against red, you want to find the Demagogue Unison and this charismatic villain as well for your turn 1. If you're playing against a more slower deck, then you want to like look at using Selzer, Destroying, and Ribrianne going into your turn 1, turn 2s to just start that discard really early. An interesting note about this card is that you can choose up to one of your leader cards or battle cards to gain 15k. So you can actually play this, discard a random card turn 1 when they swing with their leader, and still choose to pick up your life as well. So something to bear in mind there when you're looking at like curves against blue decks, when you're looking for discards as well. As soon as you kind of get onto turn 3, you can either choose to awaken by playing this card, or you can choose a couple more of your, like, depending on your life total, you can choose display outlet. You can choose to go into this. You can choose to go into these cards here. You can choose to draw more cards with this. Or you can like leave energy up again if you're in a more aggro format. You want to go and leave energy up to play something like this. Or something like this to stop yourself from just dying straight up. And you want to stall out slowly, take cards off them. And eventually we're going to be looking to end the game with, if you see them, these guys here, a few threats from our Z deck. But mainly, you know, if you see this card, like, just hang on to it. Even just playing it for 1 on turn 1 is already just, like, it can't attack unless you've got 4 or more energy. But just playing the card to the field and just going, like, deal with it, it can't be removed from the battle area. And then turn 4, it's already there, ready to kind of put the pressure on as well. Utterly broken, like, utterly ridiculous cards. Turbo dishonest. That is kind of everything for Raditz there. Honestly, if you enjoy the video, if there's anything else we can do to improve things on the channel as well, do let us know. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to me ramble on about one of my favourite decks to play, especially for like the upcoming format as well. Please do not hesitate to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm going to be doing one of these for other colours as well. I believe the next colour is yellow, so if you're a yellow player, please do tune in and I will show you some spice to go into yellow, especially into Zenkai format. Thank you so much, everyone, again. This is Revs signing out.